Meantime, Republicans seem to be all on the same page, at least for now. Axios reporting that GOP leaders in both chambers on Capitol Hill vow to turn DOGE's spending cuts into real legislation. Someone that's going to have to try to get that done is Senate Majority Leader John Thune. Great to have you in studio with us today.
Thanks, Dana. Nice to be with you, Bill.
I'm curious about the calls that you get from home into your office about DOGE.
Well, I mean, at least by and large, people are very supportive, and we are too. I mean, this is a scrub that's long overdue. There are so many systems in our federal government that are antiquated. You know, people operating in silos, bureaucracies built upon top of bureaucracies, and modernizing our federal government, using technology to make it more efficient. I mean, this is a long overdue process. I'm delighted that it's happening, and we want to do everything we can to be supportive.
So I was going through some numbers this morning. I shared this with Katie Pavlich when she was on. This is what we're getting thus far.
Yeah.
You got about 280,000 government workers who are on that probation level. So they've been employed fewer than 24 months. And they could all be out of a job. At the Veterans Affairs, they think they could save $98 million. And they would take that money and not put it back in the government coffers, but they would put it toward health care benefits and services for the VA, which would be good as well, but you're not going to save that money. At the moment, 3% of the civilian workforce, about 75,000, have volunteered to take the buyout if that buyout holds up in courts.
Right.
I know that's a lot, but I mean, as you look at this right now, what do you think the real number could be in the end, or the percentage?
Well, it's hard to say how many will actually take up the offer on the buyout, but I don't think there's any question, Bill, that there is an enormous amount of room for reduction in force. And the fact borne out by a study that was done not that long ago, it was actually reported on by the New York Times that only 6% of the federal workforce is back in the office full time. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
Now, there are some offices, obviously, that you can, or jobs you can do remotely, but the federal government, the federal workforce, this, like I said, this is long overdue. It's going to take somebody probably from the outside, somebody like Elon Musk, to be able to do it and do it right. And obviously they're going to identify some things that, you know, perhaps can't be changed or fixed, but there's a ton of stuff out there, I think,
it's super
that can
popular.
be done better. Yeah, well, and think about it. I mean, the inefficiency in our federal government that's baked in and built in literally over decades.
Well, I'm sure you probably ran on the issue when you first ran for...
I did, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everybody does.
The other thing is that President Trump is going to get his cabinet.
Right.
And one of the reasons he's going to get it is because you were able to shepherd that through. The pace, to some people, might not make sense, but given the rules that are in place for how long you have to have debate, it seems to me you've done a pretty good job.
Well, we've tried to manage the clock, Dana, and you're right, it's hard, and particularly when you've got a lot of Democrat resistance, which we do. So we're having to work through that. But we've figured out ways to manage the clock in a way that I think maximizes the ability for the president to get his team in place as quickly as possible, and we'll continue to do that.
If you look at the chart there, we can see the red line is the number that you've been able to get done in the same amount of time.
Right, and but it takes it's not, you know, and it takes a team effort, which we've had. Our members have been really good, and I think the president in the end is going to have the team he wants to implement his agenda, which we fully support, and we're going to do everything we can to see that that gets done as well by supporting him where necessary with legislative initiatives and activity as well.
You're going to have a big battle.
It is a big battle.
To decide like what you're going to do on the budget, how you're going to reconcile that with the House, and whether it's one big beautiful bill or you're going to break it up in two.
Well, you know,
I don't know when that debate is decided.
Well, we're in the process right now. We have the same end result, end goal. I mean, we want to get to the same destination. How we get there, the House and the Senate operate differently, clearly, and we have procedural issues we have to deal with in the Senate. But to the degree that these efforts are going to, at some point, they're going to merge. I mean, we're going to link up with the House and get something to the president that he can eventually sign into law. But, you know, in the meantime, obviously, what I tell people, and they ask me, how much of this can you do, how much of this can you do, I tell them the two numbers that are the most important numbers, and this is even with the use of budget reconciliation, which enables us to do legislation in the Senate with a 51-vote majority instead of the usual 60-vote majority. The numbers you have to pay attention to are 218 and 51. Because it's 218 to pass anything in the House and 51 to get anything through the Senate. And so as we think about what are the limits on what we can do, what are the opportunities, the possibilities out there, those are the numbers that are most important.
It's about the math.
It is about the math.
I think we've heard that before.
We have heard that before.
It's always about the math.
In terms of the future for the Senate, because you're going to, I know you're not the chairman of the NRSC, but you have a big responsibility to try to keep this majority and even grow it. And you can look here at the balance of power as we have. We have the senator, the Democratic senator from Minnesota, saying she's not going to run again. And I know that's also the same case in Michigan. Are those two possible pickup opportunities for Republicans?
I think they are. I mean, those are open seats. Minnesota is arguably slightly harder than Michigan. Both are states that we haven't elected a Republican senator from in a long time. But I think that these are different times, and people are looking for change in this country. And I think even states that have traditionally been blue states present opportunities for us. And if we do things right, put up a record of accomplishment, and support the president and what we're trying to get accomplished here in the House and the Senate, the map, which typically in a midterm election, particularly a president's second term, generally is harder. We're going to do everything we can because I think it's the right candidates and it's the right time, and I think things could be. You know, I'm a Scandinavian, so I tend not to. I try to understate things, but it would be great to win a couple of places we haven't won.
Let me try and squeeze this in. You're proposing a bill that would remove the tax credit for electric vehicles. The tax credit's $7,500.
Right.
And instead, you want to impose a $1,000 tax on the EV buyer to pay for roads and bridges and the like. Well, can that fly? And is that something like that Elon Musk is going to go for?
Well, that may. Elon can probably take the hit, but honestly, if you think about that whole issue, EVs don't pay the gas tax. If you drive a gas-powered vehicle in this country, you're paying for the repair of the roads because that's what funds highways. It's the Highway Trust Fund, which is where the gas tax goes. And the EV, the tax credit is something that was put in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which was a massive spending bill on the part of the Democrats. And frankly, it was an ill-advised thing in the first place. I mean, if you look at parts of where Dana and I are from, in Wyoming and South Dakota, in a cold weather climate with long distances, EVs just don't make sense. And here you are, we're subsidizing that to the detriment and expense of everybody else in the country. So yeah, there are things that need to be evened out.
Make it right.
Thanks for making time.
Good to be with you. Thanks.
Great to see you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Welcome to New York.